Title: Out of the Cradle, Human Evolution and Mythical Creatures Caught on Camera. Since the dawn of time, humanity has looked to the stars, and into the shadows. We've asked the same questions, over and over: where did we come from? And what else is out there? Science tells us a story of origins, the story of evolution, of bones buried in ancient earth, of tools carved from stone, of fire flickering against cave walls. But alongside this story, there has always been another one. The story of creatures we can't quite explain. Beings of myth, of legend, of whispers told around firesides. Some call them monsters, others call them spirits, and today, some say they've even been caught on camera. This is a journey through both worlds. The scientific cradle of humankind, and the mythical shadows that have followed us ever since we learned to tell stories. Part 1: The Cradle of Humankind. Our story begins in Africa. Not just the story of one tribe, one people, or one nation, but the story of all of us. Scientists call it the cradle of humankind. It was here, millions of years ago, that the first upright walkers appeared. Their names are etched into the rocks and bones that survive: Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. They were our ancestors, and they were the first sparks of the fire that would one day become humanity. Imagine a world of danger. Predators lurked in tall grass. The night was ruled by creatures whose eyes glowed in the dark. Survival meant more than sharp spears or fast legs. It meant imagination. Our ancestors had to imagine threats before they saw them. They had to tell stories of what lay beyond the firelight. Stories that would become myths. And so, side by side with stone tools and fire, another invention was born: storytelling. A lion could be explained as a lion. But what about the shadows in the trees? What about the rustling in the night, the sounds too strange to name? These became spirits. Giants. Monsters. Myths. Part 2: Myths born from fear and wonder. Across every culture, myths grew like vines around the tree of survival. In Africa, stories were told of forest spirits, guardians who punished the reckless. In Europe, trolls and giants emerged from mountain fog. In the Americas, the thunderbird spread its mighty wings across stormy skies. And in Japan, the rivers were said to be haunted by kappa, creatures that lurked beneath the water's surface, waiting for the unwary. Why were these stories told? Because myths were more than entertainment. They were survival guides. They warned children not to wander too far. They reminded hunters to be cautious. And they gave meaning to the unknown. A sailor who saw shadows beneath the waves did not just see a school of fish. He saw the kraken, a monster big enough to pull ships into the deep. And yet, behind many of these myths may have been real creatures. Imagine early humans glimpsing the massive shadow of a giant ape in the distance. Could it have been Gigantopithecus, an ape that truly existed, towering over 3 meters tall? Today, some believe its memory still lingers, in the legends of Bigfoot and the Yeti. Part 3: Evolution Meets Mystery. As humans left Africa and spread across the world, they encountered not just landscapes and climates, but other kinds of humans. Neanderthals in Europe. Denisovans in Asia. Ancient DNA tells us that we interbred with them, shared fires with them, perhaps even stories with them. But in myth, these beings became the wild men. The hairy giants of the forest. The ogres and trolls that frighten children. Could it be that legends of wild men are simply fading memories of encounters with these other species? Maybe our ancestors remembered them, not as neighbors, but as monsters. In forests, they became Bigfoot. In snowy peaks, the Yeti. In Russian folklore, the Almasty. Every culture has its own version of the other human. Always near, always watching, but never fully part of us. And then there are the monsters of the sea. When humans first dared to cross the waves, they entered an alien world. Strange shapes rose from the deep. Whales breached the surface. Squid lashed out with long arms. But for sailors with little understanding of marine life, these were not just animals. They were the Kraken. They were Leviathan. They were proof that the ocean belonged to forces far beyond human control. Part 4: Mythical Creatures Caught on Camera. The age of myth was not the end. In fact, the age of technology gave myths a new stage. With cameras in our hands, with satellites in the sky, we began to capture the unknown, or so we thought. Some footage shocks the world. Grainy clips of tall, hairy figures walking through forests. Is it a hoax, or is it Bigfoot? Strange shapes filmed beneath the waves of Loch Ness. Was it just a log, or the monster Nessie herself? Farmers report livestock killed in the night, and blurry photos of the chupacabra spread like wildfire. In Mexico, figures have been filmed floating in the sky, humanoid, winged, unexplained. Skeptics say these are tricks of light, shadows, or outright fabrications. And many times, they're right. Hoaxes abound. But the question remains, why do we want to believe so badly? Why does a shaky video of a shadowy figure capture millions of views, while a clear scientific explanation is ignored? The answer may lie in our evolution. Our brains are wired to spot patterns, to imagine threats, to prepare for dangers that might not even be there. This instinct once kept us alive, spotting a predator in the shadows before it struck. But today, it means we see monsters in the blur of a video. We see wings in the sky. We see faces in the fog. Part 5: Reflection and Human Story. So what does this mean for us? It means that myths are not just lies. They are echoes of our survival, proof of our imagination. They are the other half of our evolution, the story science cannot measure, but the one our hearts continue to tell. Out of the cradle of Africa, we carried fire and tools. But we also carried stories. Stories of giants, of spirits, of beasts that could not be explained. And we still carry them today. They appear in our books, in our films, in our videos online. We even say they've been caught on camera. Real or not, they remind us of something greater, our endless need to wonder. Perhaps mythical creatures are not proof of monsters, but proof of us. Proof that, no matter how far we've come, we are still human. Still curious. Still searching the shadows for what might be out there. And that is the story of humanity. The story of science. The story of myth. The story of us. Out of the cradle.